Hi, everyone. Debbie Jo here at Centered Healers. I am going to be going over what the role of active observer means in dealing with life, and how does that involve, or how do we incorporate that? So this is also going to be on my podcast, so I'll put that link in description below. You can go to Spotify and look me up as Debbie Gilman, and it'll come up, what are you doing with your life? So the concept of active observer and dealing with our lives, it's kind of complex in a way. Like, we make everything complex. That's what we seem to work with in this present moment in time. So adopting a mindful, deliberate approach to experiences and emotions. I've got my notes to keep me on track. Okay, so this observer role that we seem to I seem to not do so well at sometimes, or it's morphing. It's turning into what it needs to be in regard to non-reactivity. This encourages this, like it brings forth calmness in us, being an observer, an active observer. It allows us to stay centered, like within the tree of life, right? It is that inner calm, that inner knowing, that inner being. We're peaceful here in that sense. And it doesn't, okay, so external events we seem to react to. I don't know why I'm getting caught up on my words with this, because it all was in my head so perfectly just a little bit ago. Whether it's on Facebook or YouTube or this person or that person, because we always have like a reactive behavior to what we think somebody needs to be doing or doesn't align with us. And being an active observer allows us to say, one, I'm going to approach this from a peaceful place. Two, what does that look like? How am I going to, is this information for me? So it just gives you control over your emotional mind body, right? It allows you to have this sense of grounding that you can walk through your day and not be rippled by everybody else's stuff that they have going on. And that's truly creating that centered healer mentality, mindset, and approach. So I'm going to list out about 10 steps or practices here or there, and we're going to dissect this a little bit, right? Because saying, active observer, immediately when I was understanding what this was and how this looked, I was just like, okay, well, I went back to the time when we were children and my mother would take us to the mall, and she's like, we're just going to observe people, like people watching, right? And we were in a non-reactive place, but we story played, right? Like, there was times that it was just, I needed a break from school. And she would take me and go there and to the beach. And so I had to bring forth remembrance of what an active observer is. There is a non-judgmental approach to this place. It is just what it is, and it's simply that. So the first step of this is that self-awareness. That's how that aligns back to being an active observer. It's just to become aware of the emotions that you're having when you're witnessing something taking place. It's becoming aware of your reactions. It's becoming aware of the thought patterns. Like, we're all indoctrinated by our family or those who raised us. Those indoctrinations of their thoughts, beliefs, and understandings have been handed down. So we can actively go back and observe when we take this self-awareness approach. When you come across something, that you take a moment, you pause, and you reflect on how it makes you feel. Is that my true voice? Is that my true understanding? Is that my true belief? Because that's super important. We adopt our parents, grandparents, great-grandparents' beliefs. Are those your beliefs? And if they're not, it's okay. Doesn't mean it's right or wrong, but what you align with is sometimes not even yours. It's somebody that told you that that's the way you should think, or how you should act, and how you should be. And we're working through trying not to be so reactive, in the sense of, honoring who we are in our center. And taking the self-awareness approach, because I have my notes up on my other screen, so that's why I'm looking. It's like to recognize, acknowledge these emotions without the judgment, just like what I was talking about. It's a non-judgmental zone. The self-awareness place is completely creating there's no hate, there's no anger. It's all like simply a love zone is what I call this area. And you're approaching the awareness with zero judgment, no angst, no anger, no frustration. Not like, say for instance, if we were people watching and I was like, ooh, why is she wearing that? My mom asked me one day, I was like, why would she be wearing that, Mom? And she's like, why wouldn't she be wearing that? Well, because it's her choice. It's her self-expression. It's her way of fitting in for her in this world, and being empowered. That's when my mom first taught me empowerment. You can do and be anything you want to be, and you're allowed to do and be anything that you want to be, but understand that thought that you just brought forth doesn't have to be your thought. If you're coming from self-awareness, non-judgmental, non-approach, like, she nurtured part of that idea, like that ideal, like, she was an artist. Everything has beauty, meaning, and purpose. Might not align with you, but it does with somebody in the creator in itself. And if that's the only person it resonates with, then it's perfectly beautiful. So the second point of this is the non-reactivity part, right? We always seem to we always have an instant reaction. Like, oh my gosh, why would she say this? Oh my gosh, why did he say that? Did she actually post that picture? What would she be thinking? What would he be thinking? I don't find that funny. That's reacting. So the second part of the active observer role, instead of immediately reacting to a post, a situation, a reel, or anything along these lines, you practice restraint. You allow yourself time to observe, again, your emotions, the response that's creating it, and choose how you want to react. You can choose this. It's a choice. And remember that your emotional state is within your control. I know, right? It's super fragilistic, 6 oceans. We have control over our emotional state, our mind. We just haven't been taught how to practice it. And we haven't been shown that the ideals could possibly not be our own. They are handed down from parents, adopted parents, like whoever we find influence in, we, as children, we will mimic that behavior and take on things that are not ours to take on. And we don't share this, or with children, like we aren't teaching children that, long story, I'm not going to go. So step 3, the mindfulness, right? Being mindful. You hear people talk all the time about be mindful, be mindful. What is mindfulness? Practice mindfulness. That goes along with present moment. Mindfulness is being present in the moment of now, like being at this moment of saying, oh, these are steps to truly understand what an active observer is and how to be non-reactive. So the mindfulness, focus on the here and now rather than dwelling on past regrets, worry, or the future. Like, right? Because the only moment that truly matters is this one right here. And you've been led here. So I'm really happy you're here. So number 4, emotional detachment. So what is emotional detachment? Well, we have emotional attachment all the time, to our pets, to our, like, we have an emotional attachment, right? Like to our significant others. We have that as an identifier of our self-worth or how our external circumstances are going. So the emotional detachment part is essential to be an active observer, because this is going to be a toughie. Ready? It's essential to detach your sense of self-worth and peace from the external circumstances at hand. Whether it be Facebook post or an argument at that moment or whatever it is, you've got to recognize your inner peace and know that it should not depend on the opinions or reactions of others, right? That's external. We're being an active observer. So, your peace is super intrinsic. My lisp. Your peace is an intrinsic aspect of your well-being. I want to let that one sit for just a second, because that's a huge piece of the puzzle that that I missed, like through some of this journey of life, right? I haven't had it all together, and I have operated since a child from a reactive place, even though my beautiful mother, was drawing this out and saw these gifts. She planted seeds along the way for me to go back to and revisit, in the sense of, in the sense of, this is really what it's about. But we have our life to live, and she knew that my life was my life, and she couldn't put things upon me, because that would be her beliefs and her understanding. So you have to go live it to experience it, to either keep going in the direction you're going, or you circle around and say, this isn't right. This isn't what it's about. So your peace is an intrinsic aspect of your well-being, your whole mind, body, and soul. So that leads us into number 5, which is embrace the power of choice. Now we have choices to make. Remember that we have the power to choose. We all do, right? Do we choose peace? Do we choose harmony? Do we choose, what do we choose? Right? Are you choosing chaos? And a lot of times when I help people, it's really their choice to not realize that they don't think that they have a choice. Where they're like, oh, my life's so chaos. Well, you have a choice. You don't have to keep being chaotic or participating in that. But they don't realize it because they think everything's external to them and they're just reacting to everything that's happening versus taking this well-being approach of peace inside, saying, well, I don't have to react to it just because it's external. I can just stand in my peace and my power and be centered and knowing that I can observe without having a reaction. It's so foreign to me that now, even like, because I've never been judgmental, thank you. That seed of never judged anyone, because I always knew from a young age, one thing I did know is that I hadn't walked in their shoes. So there's no place for judgment. And I learned enough, like the minute I was going down the religion side of things. And, it states in there that do not judge. Yet I sat around and I scanned every single person. And I was being judged because I smelled like a horse that day. It was a little funny. And I was just like, yeah, you do not practice what is being preached. So that was the end of that. And it's been a walk to get to this place, to be able to stand in my peace of knowing that this is stuff that is still needing to be heard on whatever level by whoever or whoever, right? So embracing the power of choice is remembering. Everything's a remembrance. You have the power to choose your responses. You can decide whether to engage in the discussions or engage in the post on whatever social media platform that we are all involved in. And even you have a choice to unfriend, unfollow, don't like, don't subscribe, don't do whatever. And this is a tough one. Like, and like, because this is all content based, because we are all on social media platforms and this is how it's coming to you. You have your choice not to subscribe, like, or follow. If this content is causing internal turmoil, then I don't want that for you. But if this if this content is bringing understanding, awareness, and help you with the growth of not being a reactive human being, because we have a lot of that going on in this world, it's your choice to maintain whatever equilibrium you choose to operate in. Like, I choose to operate in peace, love, and abundance, and stay in my peace and try to stay as centered as possible and choose. I get to choose. I lived in chaos for a long time in a reactive sense. I was rushing here or there or this or that. This person canceled, that person canceled. So it was always having to deal with other people's and schedules and conflicts and frustrations. And there's not one time I can't think of, like, oh gosh, why did they cancel? Like, when I was my old self, and now it's like I offered an appointment and it was just like, okay, well, that's cool. Like, whatever works. I've got other things that I need to take care of and do. So it's perfect timing. So it's just choosing your response for what aligns with who your true self is. And my true self is a very, like, methodical, soft, loving being. Like I do, no wonder I struggled most of my adult life, because I was a mess, because I couldn't figure out why all this chaos was happening, because I wasn't remembering that that wasn't me. And that's why, and that I didn't have to react, to be heard in my family. A lot of times we had to scream louder. that, and that just didn't feel good. So I would just turn inwards and shut down and not say anything, because that's what I had control over at that time. And that's a learned behavior, right? Like, so you do have choices in this world. You don't have to react. The sixth part of this is seek perspective. When something disturbs your peace, um, it goes back to being part of that active observer place, right? You take a step back and you look at the big picture as a whole, right? Like, this is super important. You've got to take back, like, okay, so you see something unfolding in front of you, and it's something in the office, for instance, that's taking place, and there's this blow up, and then there's typically in office settings, there's the chatty Cathys and the Debbie Downers and the this and the that, and you're completely out of it, but they come running to you and they're like, well, did you see that? Did you see that? Oh my God, I would have done this. I would have done that. Right. So a lot of times you have to be the person to seek perspective with inside yourself. It's a little bit of a conundrum or an oxymoron, whichever. And you've got to consider whether the issue is worth your emotional energy, because this is where goes back to the mindfulness part of on 3, where mindfulness of being in the present moment is the most important thing. Well, the seeking perspective to the mindfulness approach of being in the now is about reserving your energy for yourself, your power, your emotional energy, like for it not to drain you, extend you, or put you in exhaustion. And this is something that people give away all the time. They give their emotional energy away because they're gossiping, whether they're chatty Cathys or Debbie Downers. They're extending their piece to whatever direction that they're giving, and then it creates this experience of, I'm so tired. Like, that is why this is super key. But the perspective part is to consider whether this is your issue, and is it worth your emotional energy, and how it fits into the grander scheme of your life and priorities. So does this office drama where reactive behavior has happened has nothing to do with you? Do you intake and give your energy away to keeping the reactive behavior going? Or do you choose the moment where you say, I'm going to stand in my power? I'm like, that has nothing to do with me. And I appreciate that you find comfort in this, but this is not where I'm going to put my energy. They'll sort through this. And if I'm called into by whatever HR, however, what did you witness? How did you witness it? Then that's just part of the job. But to office gossip is the reason why a lot of people are actually tired from their jobs. I know, I was in an office. And I partaked in some of that, and it was exhausting and had to go a different route. And by seeking self-perspective, it's super important to practice self-compassion, right? Because this is a rough journey. I'm going to say this active observer role, where a lot of parts are remembrances of of the seeds that were planted 20 plus years ago that are just now growing. But the self-compassion, you got to be kind to yourself. Like, I am very critical on who I am as a person, simply because, you know, when you are self-employed, you're an entrepreneur, you know, they have these guidelines that you got to be. Even on YouTube, they've got these guidelines. You got to be this or that, or you have to do this or have to do that. And I'm having to learn with it's just okay. It's okay just to be me in the moment, sharing this. And, you know, if it finds the right people, great. And if it's out there just to be found, maybe one day, whether SEO is off or not, or on or not, it doesn't matter, because I'm expressing something and being creative with a side of me that I kind of like, being able to share stories that most people might not want to share. And it's super okay, right? So the self-compassion and treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer to a friend. I'm a people pleaser by nature. So I will go around and help every single person. And then I'm always at the end of the day, used to be at the end of the day, exhausted, emotionally depleted, physically depleted, and I had nothing left to give, even to myself. And then rinse and repeat, wake up and do it the next day, right? For years, I've been on that, you know, Groundhog Day event every single day. And it's taken, we're in 2023, so it's been going on 3 years that the journey started, with a lot of bumps at the beginning, because I had somebody that really did provide me with some of these steps without even him knowing he did it. So be kind to yourself and treat yourself with the love that you would treat, you know, your tribe, right? Your family. My family lives off, so my tribe is friends right now. So, and they're not close. They're actually in other places, and I'm super grateful for them, but they love me and I love them. And they're a wonderful tribe to have. Step 8, or part 8. I don't know even. So you've got to cultivate resilience. Resilience. Building emotional resilience is key to maintaining your peace. And that goes along with the self-compassion, right? Like when we truly start loving on ourselves, like we would want to love on someone else or have that interaction with. And two, this kind of goes hand in hand with that. You know, it means developing basically the ability to bounce back from adversity and remain emotionally stable in challenging situations. So this is all what evolves into being an active observer, right? Resilience. You get knocked down, you get back up. We've heard that. At the same time, there are people that I realize that struggle really, really hard in this area of life. Like they get knocked down and they can't see a way back up. And, you know, I was fortunate that I grew up on a farm. And if I wanted to ride my pony, I had to, if I got knocked down, I would have to get back on the pony. Like, and my dad didn't come to my rescue to get me back on the pony. My dad was like, well, if you want to get on the pony, you'll figure it out. So I'm like, okay. So I went and put my pony up underneath a tree, climbed the limb, jumped on my horse's back and rode off. Right. Like that resilience is the driving force of kind of turning inwards and saying, I want this so bad that I'm going to figure out how to get it done. Like, do you really want peace as bad as you want to breathe? Like, that's the resilience part that comes in. Like, it's all this goes together, but it's broken down into segments. Or tidbits, so you can see where it comes in. So practicing the resilience can help you better handle the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows, right? And, even the online interactions, like we're gonna, like we have an open platform for people to be just chaotic haters, right? Like not saying that that's what's going to happen or anything for anyone, but when you start really truly getting in that centered piece of whatever, and in that place of I've got this, and you start flowing into this column of light flowing into your life, it just doesn't matter anymore. Like that chaos just starts falling off. The ninth thing, when you start really taking this active observer role, and I kind of can get there, like I do this quite a bit, is I limit my exposure to certain online interactions because they disrupt that piece. Like even partaking in some of it, it's sort of going back to the emotional detachment, the mindfulness. Does this align with who I truly want to be? Or is this aligning with the chaos and disruption of reality, right? And so I take breaks a lot from social platforms. And it's super hard when I decided to do this journey to get those breaks. So I do, the one thing I do is I just don't post on Facebook. But this is also a very proactive step. So, and that goes back into, we come from a proactive place of choice that we will sort of morph into where it just doesn't really matter anymore, right? And a good example, because I have horses in a background of, competing, barrel racing, whatever, and I still have horses, and healing with those is super important for people. That on my Facebook feed, it's like a barrel racer after barrel racer, rodeo after rodeo, and super cool. But I limit my exposure because there are so many people that are in this reactive state of reality that it doesn't happen for me. I don't want to be there, don't care to be there. And it's really sad because I love to see people's runs. I still love to watch barrel racing and everybody succeeding in their dreams. That gives me happiness. So, but I stay away from the unnecessary stress. And so number 10, or the last point that I want to make, is connect with your values, right? Stay connected to the core values and beliefs. And that's where you got to delve into understanding yourself and what are core values and beliefs. We can do that, and we can help give you tidbits to sort through that. But knowing what truly matters to you can help you stay focused on what's important and avoid being swayed by external influences. And so my values are peace, harmony, love, and light. If it does not align with those values, if it is anger, chaos, frustration, whatever, like if it doesn't align, those external influences, if they do not align with light, love, happy, and peace, not to say that I don't get ruffled feathers, but I still find my center. I still stay in the present moment, and I allow things to flow through. It's the ebb and flow. And I'm very precise and precision with what I say and how I speak for whatever external reaction is happening that is not aligning to my true core principles. So, and it's super important so you're not swayed, like, right? Like there's a lot of people that when they see you start to change or shift into this calmer, more peaceful place, they actually, I don't know what it is, but it's one of those things where they're like, are you sure you're peace? Because I'm going to push your buttons. And they will do whatever they can in the weirdest ways too. It's not even normal. It doesn't even seem normal behavior to me. And I'm like, why are you doing this? There's no point in this. But your values will be tested. They will be, the are you sure button will be coming up when you finally get to this point of understanding awareness and really connecting into what that expansiveness of peace is, because I'm a firm believer duality doesn't exist. It's just a creation of right and wrong. And, we've got two emotions in life. We have one emotion of pure love, and everything else that is chaos or frustration or whatever is the other emotion, and that's fear. And that there truly is, if you're living in the state of love and harmony, fear cannot reside there. It's being indoctrinated into you believe that there is too, but that's only because anyways, another tangent for another day. So external influences just don't affect you. When you finally see the big picture of these 10 steps, it becomes like, and you start doing the self-practice and self-awareness from an active observer role, dealing with life, the interactions change. Like, your interactions on social media platforms will start changing. Your interactions within your family dynamics at home will start changing, especially when you start consciously choosing your responses and maintaining this emotional detachment from external events, like, somebody running through the house and slamming the door and, be like, I've had a bad day, and word vomiting all over you. That's an external thing, right? That's an external event that has nothing to do with you. And why are you going to react to that? You just need to let the person vomit. Like, so sometimes you just need to have a word vomit, and it's okay. But I've learned that that has nothing to do with me. I've worked all day as well. And I'm so sorry that happened, but I stay in my peace and my love and my harmony. And with that goes on to, what are you prioritizing? And my inner peace and my well-being that is my priority. I am my inner peace and my well-being, being able to bring steps, implements, and understanding to what the centered healer is about. Like, centered healer is, self-improvement, self-awareness, and being these pillars for humanity to have a new norm. Like, we have this amazing group of people growing, and it's self-help tips, right? Education. Try it. You might like it. It's not reactive. You don't have to react to every single thing, don't have to react to the person driving down the road by flipping them off. Like, I don't know what to say. Things happen, but you don't have to react. The minute you give into the reaction, you are giving away your inner peace. You're giving away your well-being. You're giving energy to something that isn't serving you for your highest good. Anger, frustration, all that, to just jump there. Like, you can be just driving along so peaceful and then just switch and have road rage. That is not normal. Like, that is a reactive response. I had to learn that is not normal. I had to learn that was an indoctrinated belief of that's how you're supposed to react. And it's, and that's not normal for me. It could be for other people. They could just be expressionatory. I don't want to live there. I choose inner peace and well-being because that gives, I can stay centered there. I have more meaning in my life there. I felt like crumminess when I was explosive or reactive. I didn't like who I was, and it didn't feel good. Being in this loving being place and truly authentically loving on people for who they are, where they are, and how they are, because I'm centered and I can do that freely off a choice, And if it doesn't align with me, I can have the choice to not interact and not have a response. And that's beautifully perfect. So I just hope that this can lead you to a more centered, peaceful, and resilient approach to navigating the challenges that we face in this modern life, and that it gives you some starting blocks, right? Like, I didn't have these in this way, so bringing them, I hope, helps you. If this helped you today, leave a comment. I'm supposed to, for YouTube, have on my little note here that it says, please ask your audience to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to see future posts. So I did it. Check box and laugh. The last thing I'd like to leave each person with every single time I get on here is to laugh. Laugh. It helps. It is the healer of healers. So much love and light to each and every single one of you. Thanks for stopping by, Centered Healers, and see us for the next episode. Much love.